We've all seen those tense moments when the side we're rooting for is on the losing end and all hope seems to be lost. But then suddenly, reinforcements arrive and turn the tide of the battle, making us jump out of our seats with new hope. It goes to show how amazing it feels when someone comes along to back up our favourite characters. These are the best moments when reinforcements arrive in anime. Starting off this list, we have the arrival of the Undertaker, in other words, the protagonist of our story in 86. Before Shin's arrival, the Guardian Federacy forces were on quite the losing end as the Legion proved to be a massive threat. The Federacy would have been down and out for the count if our hero didn't arrive with reinforcements. Spoiler alert though, he was the only reinforcement. There wasn't an army or a squad of mechs, just this one guy piloting his brand new Reagan Leaf. But all that proved to be inconsequential as Shin absolutely decimated the Legion forces, even with the handicap of piloting a completely new mecha. He was an absolute godsend for the Federacy, and who'd have thought that a single reinforcement would bring the strength of an entire battalion. The moment was spectacular to watch. The animation coupled with the bomb soundtrack made this an awesome moment that fans of the series would definitely remember for a long time.
86 共和国の化け物め
Now, I'm all in favour of one-man armies acting as reinforcements, but sometimes it's even cooler when an entire army acts as reinforcements. Our next entry is one such moment when the Mountain Tribe rode in on their glorious stallions and turned the tide against the Zhao soldiers in the kingdom. Before their arrival, the Qin soldiers had their morale trampled on and their position was utterly desperate. With all hope lost and the army in despair, it was the Mountain Tribe that came to the rescue. The moment when the Queen of the Tribe yells, "All troops, slaughter them!" was a moment that completely changed the tide of the battle as tens of thousands of soldiers charged in and began decimating the enemy forces. It was such an impactful moment that it sent literal chills down my spine. If not for their arrival, Sai would have fallen and the enemies would have succeeded. Besides everything else, who wouldn't want to cheer when such a huge army comes around as reinforcements? Definitely deserves an A in our books. But hey, are you so busy that you don't have time to make meals and just eat fast food all the time? Well, don't worry, because now you don't have to with Cook Unity. Just like in Food Wars, Cook Unity is the first ever chef-to-consumer platform where over 70 award-winning chefs believe that great food should be enjoyed by everyone. And the best part, it doesn't stick to one palate because you can now choose from over 7 different dietary preference filters, including vegan, paleo, and gluten-free options. I tried the pulled barbecue chicken with collard greens by Chef James Grody from New York, and it was so delicious and healthy at the same time. I can confidently say that all the meals they deliver are always fresh and never frozen. The menu also rotates every week, so there's always something new you could try. Of course, Cook Unity also values you, so that's why the subscription is super flexible and you can pause, skip weeks, or just cancel at any time. So, what are you waiting for? Experience Food Wars quality food with just a few clicks of a button. Go to cookunity.com/Vini50 or click the link in the description and use my code Vini50 to get 50% off your first order of Cook Unity meals to try them out for yourself. Now back to the video. Up next, we have an entry that would only exist in anime. Naoshi Kano provides backup in Drifters. Now, the reason I say this is because at this moment, we have a fighter plane against dragons. But first, let me provide some background if you don't know about Drifters. During this moment, the Black King's army is attacking when a portal suddenly opens up and a World War II Japanese airplane comes out piloted by Naoshi. Now, Naoshi has ended up in a completely different world where he sees literal dragons attacking and causing a massacre. If you're a normal human being, you probably think this was a fever dream, but the first emotion Naoshi feels at this sight is severe anger. He remembers the bombing of Japan and literally flies into a rage, shooting down fire-breathing dragons one after the other. The ace pilot proves to be a massive reinforcement for the Drifters, and the entire scene is just awesome. I guess you don't need to be a knight in shining armor to fight off a dragon. Sometimes you just need a fighter plane with massive guns. Speaking of last-minute arrivals, we have Goku as he arrives on planet Namek. Prior Prior to Goku's arrival, Gohan had been fighting against a member of the Ginyu Force who proved to be a significant threat. Gohan did his best to fight off the dumb villain, but it was clear that even if he'd won, the rest of the Ginyu Force would have stepped in and wiped the floor with our heroes. What ifs aside, Riku had thoroughly beaten Gohan, who was now on the brink of death when suddenly everyone's attention was diverted to the space pod that suddenly landed. With all of that training under 100 times gravity, Goku had reached a whole other level of power. It was over 9,000. It was epic and the animation just felt like fine wine. It doesn't only make you hyped up, but it also hits you with a fair share of nostalgia. As far as reinforcements go, Goku is definitely amongst the top guys you'd want on your side.
たったの一撃で。
どういうことだ？リクームが。なんでもない攻撃だったはず。
Moving on, we have the arrival of Sinbad and the Seven Seas Alliance in Magi.
あれは第1級得意点シンドバッド
The enemy is about to plunge the world into utter darkness, and our heroes can't do a hint of damage to her. Numerous innocents will die, and empires will vanish. It's truly a battle of high stakes, and all hope seems lost, when suddenly a massive blast of lightning attacks the monstrous being and results in a massive explosion. The first-class Singularity enters the battlefield with the entirety of the Seven Seas Alliance, resulting in the tides of the battle shifting in our heroes' favour. You truly can't get better reinforcements than this, and even the villain seconds that opinion. From the tense build-up of desperation to the thrilling last-second rescue, all while keeping the spellcaster's identity under wraps. The villain's grand introduction of the mysterious figure sets the scene for an unforgettable moment. All of that accompanied by some awesome music, spine-tingling voice acting, and gorgeous animation. This arrival is an absolutely top-notch moment.
アリババくんヤムさんドラゴンおじさんもいる
Before you can recover from that last batch of overpowered reinforcements, we have another batch in the form of the S-ranked heroes arriving to fight Meltzer Guard in One Punch Man.
もろいもろいお前たちは皆もろいのだな一撃で即死だ
Now, Meltzer Guard was classified as a dragon-level threat. This classification meant that this monster could destroy multiple cities and kill off their populations, and Meltzer Guard certainly proved that with his powers. This alien could change the shape of its body, which it could use as a weapon, and had regeneration that could even put Wolverine to shame. Ion was the first hero to properly face off against this monster, but even this A-class hero couldn't hold a candle to it. Ion ended up losing his arm and would have lost his life if Atomic Samurai hadn't shown up to save the day with Bang, Puri Puri Prisoner, and Metal Bat. These S-class heroes proved to be the ideal reinforcements as they quickly began pummeling Meltzer Guard into fine dust. Their strength was enough to overpower the monster and discover its weakness, which was literally tiny marble things. As soon as the weak point was discovered, each hero made a gorgeous display of their skills and quickly took down this dragon-level threat.
懐に飛び込み頭蓋をかち割るできるもんならやってみろ
Next up on the list, we have Alucard swooping in to save Richter and his friends. Now, there aren't many anime characters who can brag about the guys who backed them up, but Richter has complete bragging rights over this. Who else could ever say that the son of Count Dracula was the one who came as their reinforcement? No one but a member of the Belmont family. With Richter and his friends exhausted and Drolta on their tails, it would have taken a miracle to save them from certain death. And that miracle was Alucard. It took Alucard all but a second to stab Drolta through the neck as she went for Richter, and the vampire could do little more than shrivel up and die. Alucard then turns to the other vampires and introduces himself as the son of Dracula, and he's willing to kill every single one of them. It was such a cold, badass line, and the villains literally just ran off after that. Can't really ask for a better reinforcement when fighting creatures of the night.
I am Alucard, son of Dracula. And if you fight me, you will die.
Speaking of Alucard, we have another one on the list, but this Alucard is a bit different, since instead of being the son of Dracula, he is Dracula. It's when Alucard summons his army in Hellsing Ultimate.
お前は自分の兵自分の家事自分の領民までなんてやつだ化け物め悪魔ドラキュラ
The moment is during the final fight of Hellsing Ultimate, when our heroes face off against the Church and Nazis. Weirdest combination ever, I know, but bear with me since the scene is awesome. Faced with such a massive army, our heroes needed reinforcements of their own, and what could make for better reinforcements than an army of the dead controlled by the infamous Dracula? With his seal unleashed, Alucard summons all the souls he's killed and manifests an army unlike any other, emerging from a sea of what looks like blood. What happened next was more like a slaughter than anything else, as it's pretty hard to fight an undead army backed by a nigh-immortal vampire. The animation truly showed off the intensity of the situation and perfectly captured how Dracula's power and army should be. But hey, Alucard had it easy, considering his reinforcements were inside him, ready to appear at a moment's notice.
何が起きている？死だ！死が起きている！
Badass vampires aside, let's take a step back and talk about an entry like the one we started off this list with, mechs. In other words, it's when Barbatos makes its entrance in Iron-Blooded Orphans. Prior to his arrival, the new recruits have to face off against the large pirate faction known as the Dawn Horizon Corps, who bring out the big guns in this fight. Luckily for our heroes though, Mikazuki August arrived as their reinforcement while piloting the Gundam Barbatos Lupus, and boy is his arrival grand. Our boy literally falls from the sky in the middle of enemy ranks and begins destroying the enemy mobile suits one after the other. The Devil of Tekka then made short work of the pirates, considering his connection to Barbatos via the Alaya Vijnana system made him a force to be reckoned with. The pirates quickly retreated, and right in the nick of time since Barbatos stopped functioning right after. At least Mikazuki got the job done and looked totally badass while doing it. And there was definitely something about that classic animation that hit the sweet spot with the entry.
マジかよ！本当にやっちまった！あれに三日月が乗ってるっていうのか。
But I won't say it doesn't get any better, since the next entry on the list is the Night Parade of 100 Demons in Nura.
このお方こそ総大将ヌラリヒョンの孫、次なる妖怪の主となるお方だ。
Before gushing over this awesome moment, let me give you a little bit of background here, okay? The Night Parade of 100 Demons is exactly what the name implies. A gathering of numerous yokai under the banner of a single leader, which in this case was Rikuo Nura. He came along with his followers to help our damsels in distress who were abducted by the rat demons. These guys had quite a number of their own, but just like rats, they posed little threat to our hero in his parade. The way Rikuo entered the area and coolly faced the rat demons made for a pretty badass entrance, and the fight that ensued was super fun to watch. The clash clearly showed that Rikuo's faction was in a league of its own as they took down the rat demons with minimal effort, even turning it into a game of who could defeat more. Most of the yokai didn't even have to use their full power, which just goes to show how incredibly strong these reinforcements really were.
猫が逃げちまったぜ。くそ、舐めやがって。
Before we enter the top 10, please give a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Since we're already talking about demons, our next entry on this list is when Giyu and Shinobu arrived to fight against the spider demons in Demon. Now, the spider family was a clan of demons led by the lower rank 5 Rui, one of the 12 demon moons. At this point in the anime, these 5 demons would prove to be a massive threat to our protagonists. Tanjiro, Zenitsu and Inosuke have to fight against the other members of this family, but they soon get badly beaten up when fighting against the father demon. At one point, Inosuke is left to fight alone against the demon and is on the verge of death when Giyu arrives to save our beast-breathing hero. Giyu later takes out the strongest of the spider demons, Rui, with a single move. Tanjiro did put up a great fight against Rui, so not taking any credit away from him. Nonetheless, the water Hashira was in a league of his own. Just like Giyu, Shinobu had arrived as well and had just as quickly taken care of another member of these demons in the most terrifying way possible. Up next, we have a moment from Undead Unluck when the Round Table members enter the scene to fight off against Victor.
悔しいけどみんなに任せます。まったく世話が焼ける新人だ。
While fighting against Spoil, our boy Andy had to bring out the big guns and remove the card from his forehead that limits his power. Shen sends both Spoil and Andy into space where his looks start to change and his regeneration gains a massive boost. Andy makes quick work of Spoil, only to return to the Earth in the form of Victor, Andy's original personality. Victor quickly turns against Fuko and Shen has to intervene, but Shen proves to be no match for him. So he calls in the Avenge, the Union members. These were some much needed reinforcements performance, and the fight is certainly one to look at as it has some pretty awesome animation and choreography overall as well. The Union members are key at holding off Victor long enough for Fuko to latch onto his original body and summon Andy's personality, and a massive stroke of unluck. The fight luckily ends with Andy back as the main personality, and the day is saved.
不変は惜しかったが、なるほど。いいメンツだ。
Ever wondered what it would be like if medieval soldiers had to fight off against advanced military weaponry? Well, not anymore, as this next entry is the fight of the Valkyries in Gate.
こちらオスカーは城門の中には味方がいる。外のみを殲滅せよ。
To assist the 3rd Unit in defending Italica, the important trading town, the Japanese Special Defense Forces sends a unit of helicopters, and their entry is just insane. The military personnel literally play Ride of the Valkyries by Wagner as they fly into the battlefield. The squad then proceeds to use guns and missiles to take out enemy forces in a totally one-sided slaughterfest. It's quite literally the definition of don't bring a sword to a gunfight. What on earth could you possibly do with arrows and swords when the other party has literal attack helicopters? Viewers who watched this scene probably sat there baffled, just like we did, since these reinforcements were definitely along the lines of cheating. Anyway, at least it again proved that gunpowder beats sword skills.
誇りも名誉も全てを否定する。人はなんて矮小で無価値で無意味なのか。
Moving on the list, we have the moment when the pro heroes arrive to save Class 1A in My Hero Academia.
ごめんよみんな。遅くなったね。すぐ動けるものをかき集めてきた。
1位クロス委員長飯田天也。
Before this, our young heroes were in a pretty tight situation. All Might had defeated the Nomu that Shigaraki happened to bring, but he took a bad beating during the entirety of the fight. All Might is on his last wind. Gaminari has been captured and is being used as a hostage, while the rest of our young heroes are heavily outmatched. Midoriya tries to step up, but right before he's about to have his face decayed right off, Ida arrives with pro heroes in tow and an awesome soundtrack to back them up. With how high the stakes were and seeing how we could have lost both All Might and Midoriya, watching the heroes arrive was a sight for sore eyes. And boy, did they look badass standing at the entrance. Our guys quickly turn the tables on the villains and force Shigaraki to retreat back to the pit he came from. Just like the last entry on the list, here's another group of reinforcements that save our hero from certain death in the nick of time. It's when the Black Bulls save Asta and Nero from their execution in Black Clover.
返してもらうぜ。
After Arstar's demon form is exposed, the Magic Parliament passes a death sentence on him, effectively using him as a scapegoat. Arstar tries to tell everyone that he's able to control his devilish powers, but his appeals fall on deaf ears. Arstar is trapped in a corner with no hope in sight when the Black Bulls suddenly burst onto center stage. All of them vouch for Arstar and make it clear that they're willing to use force to bring him back, not caring whether they'll be marked as fugitives for defying the authorities. Yami goes on to even accept Nero, making her one of the Black Bulls as well. All hell was about to break loose if it wasn't for the Wizard King's message. Even though there wasn't any great fight, this scene was still super impactful because of the sheer camaraderie shown by the Black Bulls in looking out for their own. Back to one-man reinforcements, we have Gojo arriving during the Goodwill event arc in Jujutsu Kaisen.
殺すな。
The annual Kyoto Goodwill event is where the Tokyo and Kyoto students compete against each other in jujutsu battles. It was supposed to be a normal inter-school competition thing, but certain curses arrived to ruin the event. Mahito's group begins a plot to invade the school, casting a curtain over the Tokyo campus to specifically block out Satoru Gojo. Although the student holds off against Hanami in particular, things would have taken a turn for the worst if Gojo didn't dispel the curtain. In the next moment, Gojo arrives hovering over the battlefield and instantly turns the tables on Hanami. He was just a badass, and the way his eyes looked like he was ready to go all out was just so cold. Although Hanami and Mahito escape, the students at least end up safe. The simple fact that Gojo was the only one being blocked by Juzo's curtain shows that the cursed spirits only considered him to be the absolute threat, and Gojo's arrival proved that as he put a decisive stop to the invasion as soon as he arrived.
さてどこから行こうか。
Nearing the end of this list, we have the Scouts as they attack Marley in Attack on Titan.
今だミカサ。
These reinforcements were more forced than anything, as Eren chose to create absolute chaos during ViniiTube's speech. He ended up killing dignitaries and military personnel. He even ended up killing scores of innocent civilians too. The preemptive attack was absolutely brutal, but Eren then had to face off against the Warhammer Titan. The Scout Regiment was then forced to act as reinforcements to protect Eren from the Warhammer as well as Magath troops. The Scouts were ruthless reinforcements as they assaulted Marley's military, killing Malayan soldiers left and right. The entire series of events was ruthless and chaotic and marked one of the biggest turning points in the anime. And boy was the animation amazing. Watching the Scouts wreak havoc on the Malayans while zipping around rooftops and buildings was an awe-inspiring sight. I guess we can look over the fact that the reinforcements were forced to act. Moving on, we're mentioning moments from the big three of shonen anime, starting off with the captains arriving to face off against Aizen in the fake Karakura town.
皇帝13体全隊長格を戦闘可能にすることだ。
Watching the full force of the captains arrive to face off against their ex-member was an iconic sight. Aizen came along with his army of Arrancar, and the fights that ensued were some of the best in Bleach as all the captains fought against the evil forces. At one point though, even these reinforcements needed reinforcements in the form of the Vizards. But hey, the captain's arrival itself was definitely the coolest moment. Imagine that. Every big name in Soul Society rocking up in one place, ready to kick some serious butt. It's like watching the Avengers finally come together, except that they're in Bleach. Next up, we have Luffy and the prisoners arriving at Marineford in One Piece. The entire war at Marineford, later known as the Paramount War, was an exceptional clash of forces as Whitebeard's entire crew came to rescue Ace from execution, with the military might of the Marines standing in their way. The fight was astounding and one of the most well-remembered points in One Piece history, and it also had one of the coolest moments when reinforcements arrived. We're talking about the point where Luffy and his ragtag group of prisoners fell from the sky and landed smack dab in the middle of the battlefield. Sure, they weren't the strongest of reinforcements considering the people taking part in the war, but it was stunning for even the Marines and the Warlords of the Sea when they saw a ship and a bunch of pirates just free-falling. Man, it was a moment One Piece fans just couldn't quite forget.
さすがに総戦力半端じゃなっせぶるね。世界を覚悟しろい。エース、助けに来た。助けに来たぞ。
With all of that said and done, we'll be revealing the last entry on this list. We have Naruto arriving to save Konoha. Pain arrived at Konoha to capture Naruto, and during this assault, he wreaked havoc on the village, causing destruction and claiming the lives of many. He even used the Shinra Tensei to absolutely decimate the entirety of Konoha, leaving a crater so large it changed the landscape. All hope seemed to be lost as no one could effectively contend with Pain's power. But then, Naruto, along with Gamabunta, Gamaken, Gamakichi, Gamahiro, and Fukasaku appeared right in the middle of the destruction. It was a sight to see. It gave me goosebumps, and admit it or not, it made a lot of us stand in excitement. Naruto's arrival was a beacon of hope and marked him as the strongest reinforcement in Konoha's arsenal. With all of Naruto's training in full view, everyone clearly saw how far he'd come, gaining enough power to fight against a being like Pain. With how critical this moment was and how Naruto's arrival gave hope to everyone around him and the awesome battle that ensued, we can confidently say that this moment deserves the top spot on this list. And with that, we're wrapping up this list of the top 20 moments when reinforcements arrive in anime. And don't forget to check out Cook Unity through the link in the description to get 50% off your first order. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to see more of this juicy content. See you next time.